Okay, so we're continuing on. I have cast on 10 stitches, and if you're just joining us, this is a lovely video I'm making for a friend of mine from a hotel with lovely lighting, and I need to do my nails. So we know these things, but here's the video anyway. So I have 10 cast-ons, and to start knitting, you're going to go through this loop, the front loop, through it and towards the back. And as you're doing this, make sure that your long bit of yarn is towards the back. So I'll just start over here. Make sure it should be behind the needle for knitting. So I'm going through and towards the back. Then you'll take that bit of yarn and go counterclockwise around the back needle. Give it a little tension and pull that back needle down and towards you so that it picks up this bit of yarn. But this time, instead of flipping it around to do a cast on, you leave it on the right hand needle and you take this first loop on the left hand needle and you slide it off the top. Just boop, there it goes. So you'll have 1 stitch on the right needle and you'll have 9 on the left needle. Then you go again through this loop towards the back. It'll be underneath the right needle. Take your yarn, go counterclockwise around your back needle, give it some tension because you don't want it doing this business, so a little tension, pull it down and towards you so it grabs that bit of yarn, then take the piece of yarn, the loop on the top of the left needle, and push it off. So now I have 2 and 8, and you just keep doing this until you get all of them. So we go down and back, counterclockwise, or as my friend likes to call it, down towards you, drop it off, through it to the back, give it some tension, down towards the front, and drop it off. And you're knitting a row. And just keep on going until you get it all the way done. Or however long however long your row is. And that is a basic knit. When you get to the end of your row, you will want to, especially if you're a beginner, and I'm not too far off beginner myself. So if you're a beginner, you're going to want to count your stitches and make sure that you have the same amount that you started with, that you're not expanding. And also, before I complete this last stitch, as a side note, you want to avoid knitting too far up here, like towards the top, because it's tapered. And if you make a habit of knitting up here, which I still do on occasion, but avoid it, your loops will end up being really tight because you're ending up doing it on a smaller diameter. You should, when you're done knitting, be able to move your work up and down the needle without too much difficulty. It'll vary, if you have metal or wood needles or whatever, but either way, shouldn't be too hard to move it. And there's my 10 stitches. When you're done, you'll just switch needles. So the one that has the work on it will now go to the left. The empty needle will be on the right. I'll verify that I have 10, and I do, that the work is now facing downward as opposed to upward like this. So it should be facing downward. And I do pull this a little bit because it can be kind of loose. And one of the things that can happen is this last bit can kind of flip over. And it will end up looking like you have more stitches than you do. And you could accidentally knit this last one, and then you end up expanding your work. So be careful that everything is facing downward. Your yarn and your work. So then to start, or to continue, to make your next row, you'll just start again at the top, knit all the way down. When you get all the work on this side, flip it to this side, and you just keep going until you're done. So that's knitting.